The story begins innocuously, with Emily feeling a strange presence in her room. These early moments are unsettling, but she brushes them off because it's easy to dismiss small disturbances when you're alone at night. Her father reassures her that everything is fine, reinforcing the sense of safety we all often take for granted. The figure appearing in her doorway and the whispers in the air are subtle, setting the stage for the larger horror to come. The whispers grow louder, and at this point, Emily begins to question her sanity. She's used to hearing her father's voice, but now it seems distorted, coming from odd places. The walls of the house almost seem to speak, making Emily feel as though the house itself is alive. This chapter builds psychological tension as she grapples with the growing unease that something is fundamentally wrong in the house. Here, Emily tries to reach out to the outside world, but the phone lines are cut off. This is a key turning point. Isolated and unable to confirm if anyone believes her, Emily's isolation intensifies. The mysterious, raspy voice on the other end of the line is a moment of pure dread. This unidentifiable voice evokes the feeling that someone or something familiar is trying to reach her in a distorted, horrifying form. This chapter uses the classic trope of the distorted reflection, which is both eerie and symbolic. It's a visual representation of how Emily's reality is beginning to fracture. Her father's image, which once brought her comfort, now feels completely wrong. The idea that something or someone is using her father's form to manipulate her comes to the forefront, as her reflection is clearly out of sync with reality. Emily wakes up to find her father missing. This chapter marks a significant shift in the narrative. Not only has her father disappeared, but the house itself starts changing in ways that feel impossible. Doors that used to be easy to open become stubborn, floors creak in unfamiliar ways, and there's a constant sense of being watched. It begins to feel like the house is alive with something malevolent. At this point, Emily's suspicion is growing. The entity, taking on her father's voice, begins to manipulate her emotions, playing on her love for him. This is where we first see the entity showing its true, predatory nature. It promises Emily that her real father is coming back, but only if she does its bidding. This is a classic tactic of demonic manipulation, promising something familiar to create a false sense of security, only to exploit the person's fear and desperation. The photo album is a subtle but significant moment. It represents Emily's search for answers, but it also shows how the past is being manipulated. The images of her father are wrong, he's not the same, and neither is the house. The blurry, distorted images indicate that the history of the house itself is deeply corrupted, and perhaps her father has never been who she thought he was. This chapter plants the seed of doubt, suggesting that Emily might be dealing with something far more sinister than she ever imagined. As the entity grows bolder, it starts physically manifesting moving objects, controlling the environment, and preventing Emily from escaping. This chapter amplifies the fear of confinement. The house itself becomes a prison, and Emily is no longer in control of her surroundings. The door won't open because it's not supposed to. The house is closing in on her, and there's no way out. Emily's dream sequence is a turning point. It blends the line between the waking world and the nightmare world. In her dream, she's running, but each time she tries to reach her father, she gets farther from him. This is symbolic of the emotional and spiritual distance between them. The thing that's pretending to be her father is growing stronger, and it's pulling her into its web, leaving her disoriented and hopeless. Now, the disintegration of reality is complete. Emily can't tell if she's awake or dreaming, and the house seems to be warping and shifting at will. This chapter exemplifies the theme of dissociation. Emily can't trust her senses anymore, and she starts losing track of time. The sense of being trapped both physically and mentally grows stronger. The discovery of the diary is a crucial revelation. It gives Emily insight into the house's past and the entity's history. The fact that her father tried to stop it, but failed, is key. It means the entity has been around for longer than she realized, and it's far more powerful than anyone knew. The diary represents the old truths that were hidden, the buried knowledge that Emily needs to face the terror head-on. This is where the full horror of the situation comes to light. The entity is not just some ghost or poltergeist, it is an ancient, malevolent force that preys on fear, feeding on the emotional turmoil of its victims. It has been using her father as a vessel, and now it wants to fully consume her. This realization shifts the stakes from personal dread to something much larger, as Emily comes to understand she is facing something primordial and cruel. Here, the tension peaks. Emily faces the entity directly, and the house itself becomes her enemy. The physical manifestation of her father, the smiling, twisted figure in the doorway, represents the entity's absolute control. Emily knows she is in danger, but she also knows she can't give in to it. The struggle here is not only physical, but emotional. Emily has to decide whether she will fight or succumb. The darkness spreads, both metaphorically and literally. The entity's hold over her father tightens, and Emily feels the weight of the house and its evil closing in on her. Her sanity begins to fray as she begins to question everything she's known. The house's true nature is revealed. It is not just haunted, it is a living, breathing creature, and it's consuming everything in its path. In this chapter, Emily uncovers the full backstory of the house and her father's failed attempts to protect her. This chapter serves to explain the history of the evil that plagues them. Her father was never able to escape the house's influence, and he tried to keep Emily safe by keeping the house's secrets. Unfortunately, his failure means that Emily must face the entity alone. Now, Emily is presented with the ultimate choice: sacrifice herself to the entity, or face certain death. This chapter represents the psychological and spiritual climax of the story. She's been manipulated by the entity, but she must summon the strength to push it away. In rejecting the entity, she not only fights for her life but also for the memory of her father. The story ends with a haunting, open conclusion. Emily escapes, but at a cost. The house crumbles around her, symbolizing her break from its control. However, the final line suggests that she might not have truly escaped. It's ambiguous whether she's free, or if she's become part of the house's curse. Her voice, calling for her father, hints that the evil has not been vanquished, leaving the story open to further interpretation.